I remembered to record. What can I say? So, oh, I didn't see Anne come on. Great.
Hi.
She slid
Hi.
in there. Hi, Christy.
Hi.
So this evening, we're going to cover Key 14, Temperance. And you're all going to just love this because we talked about the laws last week. Let me grab this over here. And we'll get a recap of them now. So I was just reading this before you guys started coming on. So up to this point in the study of the tarot keys, we had looked at several different laws of creation. The theory behind each of these laws has been demonstrated in previous keys so that you will gain a basic understanding of them before trying them out. Why? Because you're the magician. They're what you need and use to change your life. And they're conveniently located in your toolbox. So let's back up a little and explore the definition of the term law so that we're all on the same page. And I will say, over the years teaching, we always would have a dictionary next to us. Now I keep my cell phone when I teach, so we can always be on the same page to define terms. It's very important. According to the dictionary, it's broadly 1, a system of rules, 2, a rule defining correct behavior or procedure, and 3, a statement of fact deduced from observation to the effect that a particular natural or scientific phenomenon always occurs if certain conditions are present. Okay, now we're going to do the litany of the laws. So I'm going to put up the tarot tableau. Let's see if I can get this over here. Aha, very close. And I may make this, see if I can move us over. We don't have to be all on the page. I just want you guys to see this somewhat because I am going to go through the laws. Let me make this smaller. Move this over. Click there. Okay. It's hard to do this. Well, we'll get an idea. So, to recap the laws of creation that we've covered so far in the tarot, they are the law of nature on the High Priestess card, and the use of the law of nature on the Empress card over here. The Emperor is about the law of the triangle, and the use and the Lover's key covers the law of love. So they're way over here. Strength explains the law of suggestion, and the Wheel of Fortune explains the operation of the law of rotation. Justice is the law of equilibrium, and the Suspended Man is an expression of the law of reversal. The Transition card is about the law of transformation. Okay, so that should twist your brain for a little while. It's a lot, but it's here. You could always come and look at it. And I am going to see if I can do this. Make this whole. Yeah, we'll just go this way. I'm always afraid to fiddle with this. Now we're moving on to the law of verification on this card, and that is Temperance Key 14. She, I will move over, or he. How do I grab this? There you are. For without verification, which means being tried out by you, how will you know if what you're doing works or not? The Kabbalah teaches you that what you receive from the tarot must be practical. Everything that you've received up to this point has already begun to make small changes in your life. This is whether you are conscious of them or not. You will eventually come to the realization that you and everyone around you is an important part of nature. Also, that we aren't separate, and that there is a method whereby you will succeed at arriving at this realization. I love methods. I'm a bookkeeper type. I like things all lined up. So that's why I love the tarot. We have Jesse coming in. The tarot is magical. You have already begun to transform your personality. You are becoming more and more aware of the principles and laws under which you operate, but you can't get them from where you are to where you want to be by book learning and memorization. This is where Key 14 Temperance comes in. The law of verification is when you begin to experience great trials and testing of yourself by your inner self. You know, it would have been really easy if we arrived with a package, you know, when we're born that has instructions on it. It's amazing. Something so important, and yet, you know, you get instructions on a box when you go to buy a cake mix, but nothing when we're born. So all these laws, when combined, help us to understand how, quote, the system of creation operates. When you stepped on the path through the study of the tarot, you become an initiate of the wisdom teachings. Here you begin the initial steps of the hero's journey, which is the story of your life and how you will manage to get through all the various conditions that you will encounter. The principles expressed in the tarot come from the one identity, your innermost self. So you have a built-in helper. Yay! Thank God. You don't have to memorize everything. That's another part of it. You just have to ask, what is this? And wonder about it. And the tarot is all about learning how to access that helper every day in order to make use of its wisdom. You don't need to memorize the tarot teachings, and you just need to get access to your inner helper. Phew. Let's look at the symbology of this key to see how the law of verification is expressed on the card. The Hebrew letter Samk looks like a serpent biting its tail. And you see it here, and of course we have it on the card. This letter is both a verb and a noun. As a verb, it means to prop up, establish, and to sustain. As a noun, it's a tent peg, illustrated in the lower right-hand corner of this key. Without a tent peg, your tent would collapse. As a verb, we're looking at establishment and sustainability. So what does that mean? If something is sustainable, it will work over time. So now we're looking at the principle of verification. In science, experiments must be verified by multiple tests in order to be accepted. I'm going to go up here and see if anybody's, because I hear noises. Cheryl, is that you?
Oh, maybe it's me, sorry.
Okay. So, if something is sustainable, it will work over time. So now we're looking at the principle of verification. In science, experiments must be verified by multiple tests in order to be accepted. The tarot principles, when applied by you, will begin to build a foundation and establish to your everyday life a new way to approach life. You are cleaning up your personality to prepare it to hold greater light. Your body will also change. Since spirit and matter are one, indivisible, you are creating a new wine bottle which will allow you to hold new wine. You're able to hold more light. Every cell in your body is conscious. All those tiny little billions of cells in your body are conscious. And as you change spiritually, consciously, your consciousness starts to change into different directions. You don't get to do it without your body. It's along for the ride. So it changes. Every 7 years, it's continuously sloughing off old cells that have to do with old ways you used to think and replacing them with what you're thinking now. But that now extends over a period of 7 years. So you're continuously changing physically in order to accommodate your new consciousness. Nothing separate. Sometimes you get resistance. We want to go that way. We don't want to do what you're saying. I don't want to meditate this morning. Forget it. But you get it all together after a while. So every day you will face new tests and trials, which is why it's called the hero's journey. As you are able to change your personality through perseverance, then you'll receive more wine. What works or what no longer works in your life will come up again and again. What you learn today may not make itself clear at first. I've found that if I go back over texts I've read years ago, all of a sudden they have new meaning. It's as though I'd never read them before. Some lessons are written alchemically. We have a set of lessons called Tree of Life lessons. Just love them. They seem so simple. And it takes, if you did one a week, it takes about a year or two to get through them all. But if I get to the end and I go back to the beginning, it's just like I've started over reading them because there's something else there. It's like peeling an onion. They work on the subconscious mind, which will bring the ideas forward to your conscious mind when you're ready to see them. Christ Jesus spoke in parables just for this reason. In the strength card, we saw the serpent, our desire nature, coiled and prepared to strike, symbolized by the Hebrew letter Teth. The serpent power is not yet fully under control. In the justice card, we find the letter Lamed, where the serpent is uncoiled and active, its head erect and its tail pointing downward. Our mastery over this force is growing. On temperance, the letter Samkhya shows the tail entering the serpent's mouth. Our mastery is now complete. So these are things to think about when you look at the symbols, the letters even of the organization of this deck. The serpent biting its own tail is a symbol of eternity and wisdom. It's kind of like if it doesn't work, try something else and you become wise. Yeah. I made this dish and there was too much of something in it. So the next time I make it, I won't put as much of that spice in it. It's, trial and error. And you become wise. The serpent now appears as a circle, which suggests a connection with the Wheel of Fortune, with all its cycles and rotations. The yellow serpent on that card is vibrating into manifestation and represents the desire force, the energizing principle behind all that we do. So there's the little serpent, the yellow guy over here. Out of control, that serpent can be very destructive, yet it is the very power that we need in order to be free. It's the force that destroys limitations. And of course, if anybody's thinking about it, yes, it's the Kundalini that runs up your spine. It's that force that if you don't understand it and you try and storm heaven, as they say, you will have difficulty. It will fry out your nerves. But if you've taken the time to change your consciousness over a period of time, it'll just seem natural. You'll just wake up and see more light and feel comfortable. And what I always say, instead of in the third dimension, you're not quite fully in the fourth, you're sort of at 3.5. 3.5 dimensions. So Jupiter is attributed to the Wheel of Fortune and rules the sign Sagittarius. Sagittarius means archer, and its symbol is an arrow. See the symbol of the arrow in the lower right-hand corner of Temperance, right down there, right down here. The wings of Archangel Michael are fiery red, the quality of astrological sign Sagittarius, being the third sign of the fire triad. So here we have his lovely wings. They have blue highlights, Sagittarius's color attribution. Blue reminds us of the high priestess. The sign Sagittarius suggests aim, will, purpose, intention. It has to do with distant journeys, visions, and philosophy. Therefore, in line with your quest for knowledge, the use of verification is an absolute necessity. The archer has years of practice under its belt to achieve the perfection of its skill. The number 14 is a combination of 4 and 1. Key 4 is the Emperor, the card of reason. Key 1 is the Magician, the card of concentration. So the number 14, reading it from right to left, which is how you would read it in Hebrew, would suggest reason 4 is verified through the agency of concentration, 1. Adding 1 plus 4 equals 5, which is the number of the teacher card. Your use of concentration activates the inner voice, your inner guide. That's interesting. So we see here that through the instruction of your inner guide, you will achieve verification. When we create underlying assumptions in our lives, especially if they're in the mass mind, things don't always work out. So we have to sometimes reevaluate our underlying assumptions as how things work. And that reevaluation takes place when something doesn't keep working, or you've grown and changed. Your personality is changing. You're no longer a child. You've become an adult, hopefully. And your underlying assumptions have grown with that, with your growth. So those underlying assumptions are what you speak from, where you function from as the magician. And so you're correcting your underlying assumptions. As we know, everything is mind. So this is a very important tool to understand. And the idea of concentration is also placing your attention on something. So when you place your attention on something, and something, since everything is creation, if you place your attention, say, on a flower or a plant or on another person, creation will read back to you, will talk to you, will fill you in about either that person or about the plant or the tree. If you have the ability to just look at it and wonder about it. And that's where the inner voice becomes a much more active guide, only because you've placed your attention on it. This is not a lot of work. You don't have to wrinkle your eyebrows and go through these shenanigans. You just have to relax and go, okay, what's there? Tell me, God, what's going on there? And then you have to not think. If you're thinking, then you can't hear the voice. Silence is golden. And you're trying to become gold, from alchemical lead to alchemical gold. So the number 5 also suggests meditation because it's in the center between the numbers 1 and 9. This would imply adaptation, which is defined as the ability to equalize, to adjust, to coordinate, to equilibrate. So the object of tempering is to impart strength. A steel sword is tempered in fire and water to make it stronger. Symbology here is just going over the top. It's lovely. Here we have fire and water displayed in Archangel Michael's wings. The correct combination of these two opposite forces refers to the law of equilibrium from the Justice card. The angel on this card is Archangel Michael, angel of the sun and archangel of the element fire. We use the pronoun he for convenience. He is neither male nor female, and his name means like unto God, but he is not a person, he's an archangel. Michael is considered the fiery life breath of the one identity. Just so you know, archangels and angels and angelics have not been humans. They do not have free will. They line up with the will of God, of creation, and assist us in our fumblings about on the planet Earth. They are here solely to help us. And they're wonderful in that regard. But always remember, they do not have free will. They carry through the will of God. So if you start to get to know one of these angels, that's a good thing. Yeah, that would help. To imagine him better, think of all creation at the center of everything and Michael circulating between that center and the personal center of your heart. He is the real I am or ego of the entire race. He's doing the adaptations and modifications of your personality based on your activity and your reactions to your life experiences. He's creating the tests and trials, but you act as though you're creating them. As you become wiser, you'll realize this. And that's the important lesson of this card, that you do nothing of yourself. So up to this point, we've been doing things and creating things in our lives in order to learn about ourselves, in order to move along the way toward fuller realization of ourselves. But angelics help us to accomplish that also. So you do nothing of yourself makes it a lot easier. At the center of his brow is a solar symbol, a golden circle with a dot in the middle, a symbol of the sun. Light radiates from his head. This is his crown, his authority. Light is his authority. Whenever you have a crown, that means that's authority. His right foot rests in water, symbol of the cosmic mind stuff, like in the High Priestess card. So we would call this alchemical water because it symbolizes something. His left foot rests on the green earth, symbol of concrete manifestation through the Empress card, where she gives birth into the material. Green is her color, signifying love. So we have this balancing going on here. Like the Fool, Michael's robe has the 4 Hebrew letters of the Tetragrammaton, Yod-He-Vah-He, Jehovah, inscribed across his neckline, and it reads from right to left. The Yod is at the far right. The 7-pointed star is an emblem of mastery. Being made of gold, it signifies mastery of solar energies. Since there is no mathematical method that can be used in order to draw the star, it must be created by trial and error. Again, the theme of this card, mastery. So think of that. 7 always signifies mastery. 7 is also a very powerful number as it represents the 7 sacred planets. the 7 alchemical metals. And as I've mentioned before, the 7 alchemical metals are the same as the 7 chakras of the yogis. Just different side of the planet using different terms. And the star on his robe rests directly over his heart. So I'm going to bring it down. The lion and the eagle represent opposites. They are the fixed elements of fire, Leo, and water, Scorpio, respectively. Michael pours water on the lion and fire on the eagle. His actions illustrate the tempering or modifying by water on fire and by fire on water. The principle of reversal from the suspended man is represented by the vase of water being poured on the lion. The blue water signifies memory, receptivity, and reflection. It is the subconscious plane of mental activity. Red is the color of desire, and the red lion signifies the forces of nature. Here, those forces are being tempered so that you are now following the laws of nature, and the beast is fully under control. Your personality has become an extension of the divine will. And when this is carried into your subconscious mind, your heart enters the state of reversal of the suspended man. A lot of this you'll probably want to look at again and again, because there's a lot of information just in that paragraph. On to the eagle. The eagle represents Scorpio, the fixed water sign. It's being tempered by fire and the 5 yods above its head. The 5 yods represent the teacher card, which we just looked at, and using the instructions of the inner voice. So it's not just hearing the inner voice, it's using the instructions given it by it. The flames above the eagle's head are activating the Scorpio force from the base of the spine. Again, we've talked about that's the Kundalini point, which always talking about the spine. Through correct application of the Scorpio force, we recognize our unity with the one identity. That is so important, the correct application of the Scorpio force. So you want to have someone help you get you through that correct application. Rainbows are used as symbols of the covenant of peace and promise made by the all with its creation, mankind. I find every time I see a rainbow in the sky, I just go, oh yeah, get it, love it, thank you. Reminders, this wonderful creation we have. The colors are of the planetary centers, also known as the alchemical metals. We just mentioned that, and which are the same as the chakras. We use color and its vibrations to modify the conditions in our lives. There is a small yellow path that leads out of the water. Way down here, you see it right down there, going up to the mountains. And it rises between the 2 mountain peaks. These peaks represent understanding on the left and wisdom on the right. The path ends beneath the crown of primal will. So let's look at the tree of life diagram. The pool of water is the purple sphere called foundation on the tree. That's this guy right here. That sphere is also called the sphere of the moon. All the water in the cards comes from the robe of the high priestess, as we recall. The golden background on the card represents solar forces work here. The ageless wisdom is to motivate you to not only enter the path of the hero's journey, but to stay the course. It won't be easy. But like the archer, keep your eyes on the mark. Don't randomly accept principles without trying them out. This is not an intellectual pursuit. Every cell in your body needs to be activated for this to work. Dang, you can't bypass the old body. You have to drag it along with you. Yes. At some point, you'll begin to realize that there is something higher going on. It will put a smile on your face. It is Archangel Michael guiding you along. You can always call on him too. It's not a bad pattern to set. He's always with you. Remember, all manifestation is just vibration. Give him a chance to show you how it works. You won't be disappointed. Any questions about temperance? What we're doing on this card is we're moving our way up the tree of life from where we're hanging out down here on Earth. And there's these extremes. And we're moving to the center to go straight up to creation, right up the center through foundation. But we have to touch bases on these other spheres. So temperance is needed both to heat us up and to calm us down. Be active, don't be a couch potato, and know when to be quiet, which is know when your brain needs to be quiet. When you're not thinking, like I love to go on walks in the morning, and I'll go with my husband, Hamid, and the two of us are walking along. We don't talk necessarily, and we just look around, and I realize, and then I might think something, but I'm just letting my mind rest. You don't always have to think. It's kind of cool. So at this point, see if I can move him off of here. Yay. I was thinking we might try something. Let's go up here. See if I can find it. The candle exercise. And I don't think it's very long. I'll read it just so you get an idea. And close your eyes and imagine this candle you see in front of you. The candle exercise is really quite simple. Use one beeswax candle, approximately 1 inch in diameter. Avoid colored or scented candles and those with decals or any other ornamentation. Don't use votive lights or candles inside a glass container. A small, inexpensive brass candle holder is best, and then it goes on about how to set up the table. This exercise should be done in a darkened room. It's always best to prepare yourself. Saying a short prayer or read an inspiring poem will calm your mind and emotions and help you get centered. The candle exercise is a concentration exercise. Sit at the table with the candle directly in front of you. Sit up straight but comfortably. The candle flame should be just below eye level. Begin the exercise by thinking about the candle and its flame. Notice the different colors within the flame. See how the heat rises up from its tip and how this convection current shapes the fire into a point. In your mind's eye, see how the heat from the flame rises straight up, creating vortexes in the air. Notice how the wick of the candle draws wax up into the flame, which uses it for fuel. At some point, turn your attention to the candle light. Notice how and where the light is brightest and where it is most dim. How does the light broadcast from its source, the flame? Use your imagination to see how the light moves out in all directions in a globular shape. Get a sense for how fast it is moving and get a feel for how it moves. Appreciate how inexhaustible it is, how much is produced by this tiny flame. Your thoughts should relate in some way, either literally or symbolically, to the fire or combustion process. The purpose of the exercise is to train your attention, to develop focus. So don't drift. Also, don't try to see things in the flame. You're not looking for guidance or trying to peer into other realms. Stay present. Stay focused. Discipline your mind. This process should last about 10 to 15 minutes. When you're finished, get up and do something else. Don't think about the thoughts or experiences you had while doing the exercise. Just put the stuff away and go about your day or evening. After 3 or 4 weeks of doing this exercise at least once a day, every day, begin it as you normally do, but then after a few minutes or so, blow out the candle and contemplate the exercise with your eyes closed, visualizing the candle flame in front of you. Do this for a week at least. Once you have that down, slowly move the visualized candle flame towards you and into the space just behind and below your heart. Don't force it. Let it happen gently and naturally. If you try to force it, you risk disturbing yourself at a pretty deep level. This is why you must first master the focus part of the exercise before moving on to this part. Also, don't experiment with placing the visualized flame in your head or any other part of your body. That's important. Do it exactly as I have described. If you see it in your head, it can overstimulate your nervous system and can even give you a headache. Don't mess around with this. It's more powerful than you think. So, in the visualization phase of this exercise, remember these few rules. 1, don't force it. 2, stay in the area just behind and below your heart. 3, stay relaxed but alert. 4, don't let yourself fall asleep with an unattended candle. This kind of exercise is usually only given to students under the direct supervision of a teacher. If you have read this far and are committed to doing this exercise and you actually do it for the lengths of time specified above without interruption, then you're going to want to have a teacher, and if and when that date comes, contact me. Get in touch. This is a delightful exercise. Okay, open your eyes, and we will begin with the Deceiver. Okay, I'm going to move this up. Just having different people on here is good. All right. Are we ready for the devil card, as one would say? The trickster, the deceiver, key 15. In most tarot decks, this card is called the devil. In this deck, we call it the deceiver. The term devil is derived from the Greek diabolos, meaning a slanderer. In the New Testament, the devil is called the father of lies. This is a tricky guy. Got to watch out for. The deceiver represents the fundamental error from which all other falsehoods derive, including the error of supposing that a reality called matter is opposed to another reality called spirit, or the error that the only reality is matter and that all man designates by the word spirit is actually no more than an intellectual abstraction. So, things to think about. In the previous card, Temperance, I brought up the law of verification. Verification of the ideas in the tarot that you're reading about is accomplished through trying them out, or in simple terms, the proof is in the pudding. One of my mother's favorite terms. Otherwise, it's only an intellectual debate, just noise, a game with no substance. If you start to use this information, the cosmos will supply you with results. Yeah, be prepared. And without those results, you go nowhere, just like the two pictured here on key 15. So I'm going to move them up, and I'm going to bring this over. Let's do this. So, and bring us over. I'm getting so sort of good at this. Okay. Smoldering fire and bondage appear to be this guy's trademark. He has the horns of a goat, wings of a bat, arms and hands of a man, and the legs and feet of an eagle. The 5-pointed star crowning his head is, upside down, and his eyes are flaming red. The man and woman have hooves for feet and horns for crowns on their heads. Just at a glance, this key appears to be the reverse of key 6, the lovers. There we had Archangel Raphael in a very supportive role with a man and a woman paying attention to him. Here, things don't look so good. What's really going on? The mystery is given away by the small white beard of our goat. Right there, little white beard. Oh, what does that mean? He also wears the symbol of Mercury on his navel. Ah, Mercury. And what does that mean? Ah, Mercury means superconsciousness. So under the smoke and mirrors, he's none other than the life force. Their bondage is an illusion. At any time, these two characters can lift their chains over their heads and walk away. So why don't they? Religions in Hollywood have made great profits and gained large followings selling devils. Sinning and nasty fear-based stuff have great marketability. In the Kabbalah, the doctrine is that sinning is considered missing the mark. Let's take a look at a little story about that. A father bought his son a bow and arrow set. The child went out in the backyard and played with it for hours. The rest of the family stayed indoors during these sessions. After much practice, he finally got the hang of it. It's like duck. Over time, he was able to hit the mark every time, even with his eyes closed. Yes, there are some who really, really miss the mark for a very, very long time. We all start out not knowing very much, but with study and practice, we too can hit the mark every time. Yay. I love this picture. A little kid on a horseback doing a good job. The Hebrew letter attributed to this card tells us a lot about the message being conveyed. The Hebrew letter is ayin, which means the eye. The sense of sight is a major source of illumination, illusion, and deception. Vision is limited to what you can see with the naked eye. Just think how long it took to get people to stop believing that the earth was flat. The other misleading concept was all you see is all there is. By accepting these limitations, we place ourselves in bondage to them. As a symbol, the eye can represent this external, superficial appearances of things, even though science has moved us away from that. So the attitude to take is that the eye can deceive us only if we let it. Hence our ability to remove the chains. Our choice, free will. This is one of those free will instances. You get to practice. Then there's the all-seeing eye, which has been a symbol for deity all over the world. In America, we use it on our dollar bill. Ayin also means fountain, which leads you to the idea of the waters of life, being the fountain of all manifestation, the source of creation. The robe of the high priestess is the source of all the water displayed in the cards. From a 16th century magical manuscript, Eliphas Levi quotes that among the powers and privileges of an adept, those powers connected with the letter Ayin are to force nature to make him free at his pleasure. In the Gospel of St. Matthew 4:1, then Jesus was led up into the wilderness by the Spirit to be tempted by the devil. These are important clues to the whole mystery of Key 15. Note that the Spirit did the leading for the specific purpose of testing Jesus. Why is it that appearances that deceive us are necessary along the hero's journey? That's because we actually live day to day in a dichotomy, which the mind just doesn't comprehend. All is one, yet we live in the manifestation of duality. But without duality, nothing could exist. It would all would be in the state of An Sub Or, in Hebrew, the limitless light, which is in the Kabbalah as God prior to manifestation. So if you look at the tree of life, you then, it's everything before manifestation. So that's duality. There's always a catch. It is the black empty space behind the tree of life diagram. How do we reconcile all as one with the duality of being? If the manifestation of the life power is always at the point of duality, how do we conceptualize and live this? First of all, you got to have a sense of humor. I am very serious. And just so, mirth is a function of this key. You have to get past the mind for all of this to come together for you. Imagine being in one place and being everywhere, all at the same time, or rather without time. And you can have that experience. You can have it. Just want to let you guys know it exists. And it just gets better and better. But you have to somehow leave the brain behind, and yet you function with it. So it's possible to do that. It is. It's not a lot of work. It's just more place where you place your focus. The only way to get to that ability, to get past the mind's limitations, is through these trials and tests of our faith, and the use of appearances does the trick. The whole book of Job is concerned with this, as are the 4 Gospels. In Sanskrit, matter is called Maya, which means illusion. In the West, the world of appearances seems to be the only reality. To those of the East, the phenomenal world is unreal, interesting, with its ever-shifting appearances. In the tarot, the term reality applies to both worlds. What we call matter, that which has name and form, is the appearance of what we call spirit, the appearer, that is, making the appearance. So you are just the appearance of spirit. In the Kabbalah, there is no separation between the two, and they are not in opposition to each other, ever. There is a point where you experience it and a door shuts and you don't leave that consciousness, and yet you can operate in a dual world, in duality. It's possible, very possible. And then, of course, you need to have a sense of humor. So how can there still be all the economic, political, and social evils of the present day? How can this fine theory erase all that? We must first begin to actively live and therefore experience. I hate to say this, but I'm about to cough. We must begin to actively live and thereby experience what is being taught in the tarot. Only at that point will we begin to realize our true place in the world. Removing the awareness of evil is just the beginning. We also gain the power to change our lot, living into creations of good. The magical manuscript previously quoted from Eliphas Levi continues. I always love this. The wise man rules the elements, stills tempests, cures the diseased by his touch, and raises the dead. The initiates know, and as for others, whether they deride, doubt, or believe, whether they threaten or fear, what matters it to science or to us? The zodiacal sign Capricorn is attributed to key 15. See the lower right corner of the card. So there you have information about the card. Capricorn is ruled by the planet Saturn, the planet of limitation and restriction. In Capricorn, this planet Mars is exalted, which means its highest field of expression. Mars is strength and force. In the Deceiver is a presentation of power which both binds and liberates. Saturn, in its binding aspects, creates a form. That's where we have our duality. All forms have definite limitations. As we discussed in transition, all release of energy requires the dissolution of form. Remember, there's nothing made in the world new and nothing disappears. It's just form, changing form. It's all mine, and you learn to direct it. I always wanted to have a money tree, little dollar bills hanging off them instead of leaves, but things to work on. In Capricorn, these opposite aspects of reality are brought together. In essence, form necessitates limitation, and in our experience, limitation is bondage. Yet the very limitations that bug us may become the spurs to action that release us. You could say that our stumbling blocks become our stepping stones. This is clearly indicated by the first column of 3 keys in the tarot tableau. And that is this, I will bring over, so I can grab it at the top. That's this first column right here. Because now we're at the end, the Deceiver. The Magician is a principle called concentration. The agency the magician uses is the strength card with the lion by putting into action the law of suggestion. Remember that sweet voice you use with the subconscious mind. You coax it into doing things for you. You don't slam it with a hammer. This activity results in the Deceiver card, where we experience a renewal of consciousness, and that renewal releases us from bondage. As mentioned above, mirth is the fruition of the letter Ion. We are both healed and purified through laughter. Laughter is caused by a perception of the incongruous. This is why stand-up comedy is so popular. Also, as a yoga student, I can totally relate to this. So I'm in a yoga class and it's near the end, and the yoga teacher is demonstrating the peak pose that we've been working up to. Suddenly there's a burst of laughter from the students. Seriously, we're going to do that? Smiling, the teacher says, yes, you're prepared, so let's get started. Something where legs are going out this way and arms that way. Oh, and I will mention, this is myself, my husband Hamid, and his cousin Kurush. And here on the card, we have before us the perception of the incongruity between the appearance of limitation that most of us live by and think we are, and the truth that mankind is the immediate agent of the one identity, aka all of creation. Yes, it's true. You guys are the immediate agent of creation on the planet Earth. Don't look in the closet, it's you. Creation can only manifest through mankind. No other way it gets here. Hopefully you're smiling in all your purity. No panic attacks allowed here. This realization is why it's called the hero's journey. I'm here to help you along the way, but you have to have the experience described here in order to move forward on your journey. In Hebrew, IH, or Jah, is numerically the number 15. Jah is the divine name for wisdom. So this card is about wisdom. The background is black, which is the color of darkness, ignorance, limitation, but is also the color of that which is hidden. From this, you could surmise that the underlying cause of bondage is ignorance. The goat's horns on his head refer to Capricorn. His wings are bat's wings, signifying the powers of darkness. His face is that of a goat, but he has the ears of a donkey to suggest the stubborn limitations of materialism. The earthy quality of the sign Capricorn is reflected in his brown, thick-set body. So how is wisdom revealed in this card? Yes, let's try this. A white inverted pentagram is his crown. Okay, that's this, inverted though. The 5-pointed star symbolizes mankind, and a crown means authority. So we're looking at a figure who has no idea that he is the center of expression for the primal will to good, which eternally creates and sustains the universe. No idea. The center of, that's you guys. Each one of you is the center of expression for the primal will to good, which eternally creates and sustains the universe. This comes from a meditation created by Paul Foster Case called The Pattern on the Trestle Board. That's a really fabulous, wonderful meditation. So in key 15, we have expressed a complete reversal of awareness of our real place in the cosmos. On the teacher card, the central figure only shows 2 of the fingers on his right hand, right there. An indication that there's more going on than just what you see. Here on the Deceiver, the central figure had his hand wide open with a symbol of Saturn tattooed on the palm. This says all you see is all there is. The planet Saturn is an indicator of restriction and ignorance. The burning torch down here, a phallic symbol, is held upside down in his left hand, giving little light. A phallic symbol is used to express the regeneration of life from one generation to the next. Here it is upside down, it's reversed like the crown. With the claws of an eagle, nice little clawsies there, suggesting the sign Scorpio, he sits on a half cube. That's this thing here. Scorpio represents regeneration. A cube represents the cosmos, the idea of that which was and is and shall be. So a half cube would then represent a half knowledge of that reality, and thus only the visible sensory side of existence. This also brings up the idea of the misuse of regeneration. Scorpio in the service of sensuality. The 2 chained figures are our conscious mind, little guy over here, and our subconscious mind, the lady here. Their horns, hoofs, and tails show that their reasoning comes from surface appearances. They function from their lower animal nature. They are chained to the cube and may free themselves at any time. It's all in their head. The symbol over this creature's navel is a red cross surmounted by a combined yellow circle and moon crest. The three symbols together stand for Mercury, which is also the symbol of superconsciousness. The doer, your will. Mercury rules our nervous system, including our brains, particularly the frontal lobe. It is in essence the control panel of our personality and our ability to communicate. Red is action and strength. The cross is the rod and the staff, the material world influenced by spirit. A cross is the four elements united in expressing spirit. Yellow is mental equilibrium and intellect. The circle is the all, and the crescent is a cup receiving all that life has to offer. The crescent is also the reflecting principle as expressed by the high priestess. It is that in which the I am sees an image of itself. And all of you are that cup, that grail. On this card, the symbol of Mercury is placed over the gut. The small intestines is ruled by Virgo. This is the place where assimilation and digestion of the food we eat takes place. What we choose to eat using our will determines the health of our gut, Virgo. In astrology, Virgo rules the planet Mercury. So the health of our gut determines the health of our brain and nervous system. Did you know the nervous system is made up of cholesterol? Those who do extreme cholesterol reduction diets, I always wonder how things are going in the brain department. There are good cholesterols and bad ones, but counting cholesterol, no. That's what your nervous system is made of, and your brain. Things to think about. See, underlying misconceptions. How many people do you know of, including yourself, who are aware of just how important the health of the food that they eat determines the health of their nervous system? The ancients have known this a long time. And do they know that the health of their nervous system determines the health of their personality and their ability to communicate? So that's what's being expressed here. The ludicrous figure of the deceiver is a full demonstration of our ignorance of the nature of reality and our true place in the world. And yet, what is the giveaway as to who this creature really is? As mentioned before, the little white beard and Mercury on his belly. He is spirit behind all matter. He reveals on this card that you need to do what you need to do to lift the chains of bondage. Matter and spirit are not opposed to each other. They are inseparable. As you travel along the hero's journey, you gain the skills needed in order to recognize the deceiver when he appears from time to time. And yes, when you recognize him and understand what's really going on, it will put a smile on your face. There is nothing to fear. All there is God. Something bugs you, tell it to go sit in the corner, make some s'mores, light a fire, have a good time, and you'll be back and go over here. And something frightens you. Fear is two-dimensional. It knows nothing but fear, and it loves company. Well, there we are. Oh, that looks familiar. That's lovely. That's a great sight. When you close your eyes, and this is inside you, you will just love it. From moving along, you will all have this at some point. I hope you have enjoyed this. Just waking up. It's great fun for me. And if you ever want to be in touch with me, you're welcome to call. I think somewhere, or email. I think I'm somewhere on there. Contact me if you have questions about, more than what's going on here, or doing more of what's going on here. So that's always my pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Thank you, Margot.
It's my pleasure. I'm just so
Thank you.
glad that you're coming, and there'll be more. And I did remember to record, so we're all in good shape. Oh, I would like to mention last week I did the recording and then I put the wrong video on it. So I had one of you write me and say, "What are you doing?" So I fixed it, but it didn't get fixed until Wednesday. It went up again Wednesday. So I put a little note on my gatesoflight.com site about that, but I didn't know if any of you went in and went, "Oh, this is another one. This isn't what it's supposed to be." So I fixed it. Yes, technically challenged, but I love the light. So everyone, thank you so much for coming. Enjoy your week and see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.